there, and welcome to the Retirement Wealth Podcast. Today we're diving into something really exciting, how to create a simple FIRE plan. You know, that concept of financial independence, retire early.
Yeah, it's such a compelling idea, right? Who wouldn't want to retire early and enjoy those golden years without financial stress?
Exactly. And we'll be unpacking some practical steps you can take to start building your own FIRE plan. So whether you're just starting to think about retirement or you're already on your journey, there's something here for everyone.
We'll be talking about setting realistic savings goals, understanding your expenses, and how to invest wisely. All crucial elements of the FIRE strategy.
Plus, we'll touch on some common pitfalls people face when pursuing financial independence and how to avoid them. It's all about making informed decisions, right?
Absolutely. And the good news is, it doesn't have to be complicated. With the right approach, you can create a plan that works for you and fits your lifestyle.
So, if you're ready to take control of your financial future and maybe even retire a bit earlier than expected, let's get started on this journey together.
Let's dive in. You know, Emily, when we talk about creating a simple FIRE plan, it's more than just a trendy topic right now. It really ties into the current economic landscape and how that impacts folks as they approach retirement.
Absolutely, David. I mean, with inflation rates fluctuating, many people are feeling the pinch at the grocery store or the gas pump. It's a pretty stark reminder that retirement savings need to be resilient.
Exactly. And that's why understanding how to protect your retirement from inflation is crucial. I had a client, let's call her Sarah, who thought she had everything figured out. She had a solid nest egg, but she hadn't factored in rising costs. She was shocked to see how much her expenses increased over just a few years.
I can see how that would be eye-opening. It's almost like a wake-up call. So, what did Sarah do to adapt her plan?
Well, she started by looking at her investments and adjusting them to include assets that typically keep up with or outpace inflation, like certain stocks or real estate. We also discussed diversifying her portfolio to mitigate risks associated with market volatility.
That makes sense. I think a lot of people underestimate the impact of market fluctuations. I mean, just look at the past few years. We've seen some serious ups and downs.
Right, and that can be really stressful for those nearing retirement. I remember another couple, Mike and Linda, who were so anxious about the stock market that they pulled out a significant portion of their investments during a dip. Unfortunately, that decision locked in their losses.
Ouch. That's tough. So what would you recommend to someone in that situation?
Well, first, it's important to stick to your long-term plan. We worked with Mike and Linda to create a strategy that included a mix of safer investments alongside their growth-oriented ones, which helped reduce their anxiety. We also emphasized the importance of not reacting impulsively to market swings.
And I think that's a vital part of financial security, having a sound strategy that allows you to weather those storms. But there's also the matter of taxes.
Absolutely. Tax efficiency is often overlooked, but it's essential, especially now. With potential changes to tax laws on the horizon, planning for taxes in retirement can save folks a significant amount of money. For example, if someone has a 401k, they need to be aware of how withdrawals will affect their tax bracket.
That's such a good point. I mean, if you don't plan for taxes, you might end up giving away a chunk of your hard-earned savings.
Exactly. I once worked with a retiree named Tom, who wasn't aware that taking larger withdrawals could push him into a higher tax bracket. By adjusting his withdrawal strategy, we were able to keep more money in his pocket.
And what about Social Security? I know there are changes happening there too, which can really impact someone's retirement plan.
Yes, Social Security is another complex piece of the puzzle. With the potential for changes in benefits or adjustments in the age of eligibility, it's crucial for people to consider how and when they'll claim those benefits. I had a client, let's call him Jim, who was planning to take Social Security at 62. However, we sat down and analyzed his situation, and it turned out that waiting until 70 would give him a significantly higher monthly benefit.
That's a huge difference. I think many people don't realize how much timing can affect their benefits.
Exactly. And when you factor in healthcare costs, which are skyrocketing, this becomes even more critical. I mean, healthcare is one of the biggest expenses in retirement, and planning for that can feel overwhelming.
It really can. I know several retirees who didn't account for those rising costs, and it's been a struggle for them.
Yes, and one couple I worked with, let's call them Carol and Bob, faced an unexpected medical issue that drained their savings faster than they anticipated. It's vital to have a healthcare plan in place, including the possibility of long-term care.
I think that's a conversation many people might shy away from, but it's so important. And speaking of conversations, legacy planning is another key aspect of this whole retirement picture.
Definitely. People often think legacy planning is just for the wealthy, but it impacts everyone. I had a client, Lisa, who wanted to make sure her children had a secure financial future. By setting up a simple estate plan, she was able to articulate her wishes clearly and ensure that her assets would be passed on without unnecessary complications.
That's such a thoughtful approach. It sounds like having those conversations can really provide peace of mind.
It absolutely does. And when you couple that with understanding current economic trends, you're setting yourself up for a more secure retirement. With everything changing so rapidly, it's crucial to stay informed and adjust your plans accordingly.
So it seems like creating a simple FIRE plan isn't just about the numbers. It's about creating a solid foundation for your future, your peace of mind, and your legacy.
Exactly. And that brings us to some core strategies that can help folks navigate these challenges effectively. Shall we dive into those? So Emily, when we talk about creating a simple FIRE plan, one of the first things people need to consider is how much they really need to save. A good benchmark is aiming for at least 25 times your annual expenses.
Right. So if someone needs, say, $40,000 a year to live comfortably, they should be targeting around $1 million in savings, correct?
Exactly. And that $1 million mark is based on the 4% rule, which suggests that if you withdraw 4% of your nest egg annually, you should be able to sustain your lifestyle for about 30 years without running out of money.
That sounds great in theory, but how do people actually implement that?
Well, a solid approach is to diversify your investments. A common strategy is the 70-30ths portfolio, where you allocate 70% to stocks and 30% to bonds. Stocks generally provide higher returns, but they also come with more volatility. Bonds can help balance that risk.
So you're saying that during market downturns, the bonds can act as a cushion?
Exactly. It helps smooth out the ups and downs. Plus, you want to think about your risk tolerance too. Some folks might feel more comfortable with a 60-40th split, especially as they get closer to retirement.
Makes sense. And what about tax-advantaged accounts? How should people use those in their FIRE plan?
That's a crucial piece. Utilizing accounts like a 401k or an IRA can really boost your savings. For instance, with a 401k, you can contribute up to $22,500 a year, and if you're over 50, there's a catch-up contribution of an additional $7,500.
That's a nice little bonus for those closer to retirement.
Absolutely. And then there's the Roth IRA, which can be particularly beneficial for those who expect to be in a higher tax bracket in retirement. You pay taxes on that money now, but then your withdrawals in retirement are tax-free.
So it's like getting a tax break later on if you think your income will increase.
Right. And don't forget about the power of compound interest. The earlier you start saving, the more time your money has to grow. Even small contributions can add up significantly over time.
Speaking of contributions, how do you balance all this with real estate investments?
Real estate can be a fantastic way to diversify. It's a tangible asset that can generate rental income and appreciate over time. But it's important to do your homework, analyzing the local market, understanding cash flow, and factoring in expenses like maintenance and property taxes.
Sounds like it requires a bit of legwork.
It does, but it can pay off. Just remember, real estate isn't as liquid as stocks or bonds. If you need quick cash, selling a property isn't as easy as liquidating an investment account.
That's a good point. And what about annuities? Are they a good fit in a FIRE plan?
Annuities can provide a steady income stream in retirement, which is appealing for some folks. However, they come with fees and can be complex, so it's crucial to read the fine print. I usually recommend that people think of annuities as part of a broader strategy rather than a centerpiece.
Right, and then there's Social Security. How does someone optimize that within their plan?
Social Security can be a game changer, but claiming it at the right time is key. If you claim at 62, you'll get a reduced benefit, but if you wait until your full retirement age, or even until 70, you can increase your monthly benefit significantly.
So it's like a balancing act between needing income now versus maximizing what you'll receive later?
Precisely. And keep in mind, some strategies like file and suspend or restricted application can be beneficial, but they have specific eligibility requirements, so it's worth consulting with a financial advisor.
Definitely. And then there's the withdrawal strategy once you retire. Should people stick to the 4% rule, or is there more flexibility?
The 4% rule is a solid guideline, but it's not one size fits all. You might consider the bucket strategy, where you divide your retirement savings into different buckets based on when you'll need the money.
How does that work?
Well, for example, your first bucket could be cash reserves for the first few years of retirement to avoid selling investments in a downturn. Your second bucket might be bonds for the next 10 years, and then you could have a longer-term bucket with stocks for growth.
That sounds like a smart way to manage risk.
It really is. And don't forget about tax savings techniques. For instance, if you have a mix of tax-deferred accounts and tax-free accounts like Roth IRAs, you can manage your withdrawals strategically to minimize your tax burden each year.
So it's about being proactive, not reactive, especially when it comes to taxes.
Exactly. And diversification isn't just about different asset classes. It's also about tax strategies. The more varied your approach, the better you can protect yourself from market fluctuations and tax implications.
And with all these strategies in mind, what are some common pitfalls people should watch out for?
Well, one major pitfall is underestimating healthcare costs in retirement. Many people think they'll be fine, but healthcare can be a significant expense, especially as you age.
That's a great point. And I imagine not planning for inflation can be another issue?
Absolutely. If you're only planning for today's costs without factoring in inflation, you might find yourself in a tight spot later on.
So staying informed and flexible with your plan is crucial, right?
Exactly. And that's why regular check-ins on your financial plan are essential. Adjusting as your life changes can make all the difference.
Perfect. Let's dive deeper into those pitfalls next.
So Emily, as we dive into this, I think it's crucial to highlight some of the common pitfalls that people run into when planning for retirement.
Absolutely, David. It's like you can have a solid plan, but if you miss a few key details, it can really affect your financial future, right?
Exactly. One of the biggest issues I see is something called sequence of returns risk. It sounds complicated, but it's really just about the timing of your investment returns, especially in the early years of retirement.
Right. So if you experience poor returns right when you start taking withdrawals, it can have a massive impact on your portfolio over time.
Yes, that's exactly it. For instance, I had a client, let's call him John. He retired in 2008, right before the financial crisis. He started taking withdrawals from his investments. But during that downturn, his portfolio took a significant hit.
Ouch! That's tough. So what happened next?
Well, the problem was he was withdrawing money while the market was down, and that really compounded his losses. Instead of giving his investments time to recover, he was forced to sell at a loss, which ultimately led to him running out of money much sooner than he anticipated.
That's such a critical lesson. I guess it emphasizes the importance of having a withdrawal strategy that takes market conditions into account, huh?
Exactly. And that leads us to another common mistake: ignoring taxes in your withdrawal strategy. People often don't think about how their withdrawals will be taxed.
Oh, for sure. I mean, you might have a great nest egg, but if you're not considering taxes, you could end up losing a chunk of it to the IRS.
Right. I had a couple, let's call them the Smiths. They were so focused on their investment returns that they didn't realize their withdrawals were pushing them into a higher tax bracket.
Yikes. That must have been a rude awakening.
It was. They ended up paying more in taxes than they needed to, which meant less money for their lifestyle. If they had planned their withdrawals more strategically, they could have minimized their tax burden.
So what can people do to avoid this pitfall?
Well, working with a financial advisor to create a tax-efficient withdrawal strategy is key, but also understanding how different accounts are taxed, like traditional IRAs and Roth IRAs, is really important.
That makes sense. Another big issue that comes to mind is underestimating healthcare costs, right? They can really add up in retirement.
Absolutely. Healthcare is one of those things that can catch folks off guard. I've seen people underestimate their expenses by a significant margin. Take Karen, for example.
What happened with her?
Well, she thought she'd be fine budgeting a couple $100s a month for healthcare, but as she aged, her needs changed. She ended up spending thousands on unexpected medical expenses.
That's a real eye-opener. It's hard to predict, but people really need to consider the long-term costs of healthcare, especially with things like long-term care.
Right. And that leads into another crucial aspect, longevity. Many people don't realize how long they might live, and that can drastically affect their financial planning.
Yeah, it's kind of a balancing act, isn't it? You want to enjoy your retirement, but you also don't want to run out of money in your 80s or 90s.
Exactly. I had a client, Tom, who planned for a retirement of about 20 years, but he's now in his 90s, still going strong. He didn't anticipate that he'd need to stretch his savings for so long.
So what's the takeaway there?
I always recommend planning for a longer retirement than you think. It's better to err on the side of caution.
That's good advice. Another thing that comes to mind is poor asset allocation. Many retirees don't really understand how to balance their investments as they age.
Yes, I've seen retirees overly conservative, or, believe it or not, too aggressive. A client of mine, Lisa, was heavily invested in stocks at retirement, thinking she'd get higher returns, but the market took a downturn, and her portfolio suffered.
So how did she recover?
Well, we had to adjust her asset allocation to include more bonds and safer investments. It's all about finding that balance between growth and security, especially as you get older.
And I guess that goes hand in hand with understanding your risk tolerance too.
Definitely. And then there's the issue of claiming Social Security too early. Many people think they should just grab it as soon as they can.
Right. But that can really impact their lifetime benefits, can't it?
Exactly. I had a couple, the Johnsons, who claimed as soon as they turned 62. They thought they needed the money right away, but they didn't realize that waiting could have increased their monthly benefits significantly.
So what can retirees do to avoid these common mistakes?
Well, the first step is to educate themselves and seek guidance. Understanding these pitfalls is crucial. They should regularly review their financial plans and adjust as needed.
And maybe set up a check-in with a financial planner every year?
Absolutely. That way, they can stay on top of their strategies and make sure they're on the right track. It's all about being proactive rather than reactive.
Great advice, David. So what's the next step for someone who's worried they might be falling into one of these traps?
I'd say start with a thorough review of your current plan and assess your goals. Identify any potential red flags and don't hesitate to reach out for help if you need it.
That sounds like a solid plan. Thanks for sharing all these insights, David.
All right, Emily, let's dive into some immediate steps people can take right now to start building their FIRE plan.
Absolutely. So where should someone begin, David?
Well, first off, I recommend running some retirement projections. You can use online calculators from places like Vanguard, Fidelity, or Schwab. They all have handy tools that can give you a clearer picture of what your retirement might look like, based on your current savings and expenses.
That sounds really useful. I assume these calculators can help you figure out how much you need to save each month, right?
Exactly. They take into account your current savings, expected retirement age, and even your anticipated expenses in retirement. It's a great way to identify if you're on track or if adjustments are needed.
And what about Social Security? I know a lot of people have questions about when and how to access those benefits.
Good point. The Social Security Administration's website, ssa.gov, is a key resource. You can create an account there to see your earnings history and get estimates of your future benefits. Understanding this can really help shape your retirement income strategy.
Right, and if someone is still working, they can also check out their employer's retirement plans, like a 401k.
Definitely. If you have access to a 401k, make sure you're contributing enough to get any employer match. That's essentially free money.
Yes, And for those who might be self-employed or don't have a 401k, what are some alternatives?
There are options like a solo 401k or a SEP IRA. Both allow you to save a significant amount for retirement, and they have their own tax advantages. It's worth looking into what fits your situation best.
And what about keeping an eye on investments?
Great question. I usually suggest reviewing your portfolio at least quarterly. It helps you stay aligned with your goals and adjust based on market conditions or changes in your life.
So it's about being proactive, right?
Exactly. And even if you feel like you've got things under control, running those projections regularly can give you peace of mind.
Speaking of tools, are there any financial planning apps you recommend?
Oh, absolutely. Apps like Mint or Personal Capital can help you track your spending and net worth. They can provide insights into your financial habits, which can be a game changer when planning for retirement.
And those insights can help you spot areas where you might save more, right?
That's right. It's all about finding small habits you can change. Even just reviewing your budget monthly can make a significant difference over time.
What about books or podcasts? Any recommendations for our listeners to expand their knowledge?
Sure. A couple of great books are The Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins and Your Money or Your Life by Vicki Robin. Both provide fantastic insights on managing money and achieving financial independence.
And for podcasts, I've heard good things about Choose FI and Bigger Pockets Money. They're really focused on financial independence.
Those are excellent choices. They offer practical advice and real-life stories that can be really motivating.
So if someone feels overwhelmed, where should they start?
It's never too late to improve your plan. Start by setting aside just a few minutes each week to review your financial situation. Maybe pick one tool, like a retirement calculator, and play around with it.
Yeah, that sounds doable.
And remember, even small changes can lead to big results over time. Just stay consistent and keep your goals in sight.
With all these tools and steps, I think our listeners will feel encouraged to take action.
Absolutely. So those are some practical first steps. Now let's bring this all together. Well, as we wrap up today's discussion on creating a simple FIRE plan, let's recap some key takeaways.
Yeah, definitely. First, we talked about the importance of calculating your FIRE number, right? Knowing how much you need to retire comfortably is really the foundation of the whole plan.
Exactly. And then we moved on to budgeting, which is crucial. Living below your means, tracking expenses, and being mindful of your spending can really help you reach that goal quicker.
And don't forget about investing. Diversifying your investments to create a robust portfolio is key to growing your wealth over time. It's all about making your money work for you.
Right. And we also highlighted the significance of having a withdrawal strategy, figuring out how to draw from your savings without running out of money.
Absolutely. It's all about balance. You want to enjoy your retirement, but also ensure that your savings last as long as you do.
And lastly, we touched on the importance of staying adaptable. Life can throw unexpected challenges your way, so being flexible with your plan can really help you navigate those changes.
Well said. It's all about building a solid foundation and being prepared for whatever comes your way.
Remember, building and protecting your retirement wealth is a journey. It's important to stay informed and make adjustments as needed, but also to celebrate your progress along the way.
For sure. If you found value in today's episode, we'd love for you to like, subscribe, and let us know your biggest takeaway or any questions you might have in the comments.
And don't forget to share this episode with someone who's planning for or already in retirement. It could really help them on their journey.
Next time, we'll dive into a critical topic: how to safeguard your retirement savings from fraud. You won't want to miss it.
Until then, take care and keep building that retirement wealth.
Goodbye for now.